Long, long ago, when houses were built with mud, there lived a couple who were barren for 15 years. The woman, Chinyere, and her husband, Dike, were a thing of mockery in the land of Odara, Enugu State, Nigeria. Dike's people encouraged him to marry another wife, saying that his wife is an Obanje that had given all her kids to her spirit husband and would never birth a child again. Dike never listened to them at all. He loved his wife, and they had faith that one day the gods would bless them with kids. Chinyere was a laughingstock in the town of Odara. Her fellow women would laugh at her in the market and in the farm, calling her all sorts of names. Ajonwani, evil woman, Ogbanje. She grew familiar with these harassments and found a way to avoid them. She had cried almost every night all through those years, praying and hoping that the gods would bless her with a child. She had taken so many herbs and teas in order to take in, but all to no avail. Her husband had been patient with her, comforting her at all times, especially when depression came knocking. On their 15th year anniversary, Chinyere discovered that she was pregnant. She decided to give herself another week to be sure before breaking the news to her husband. They were elated. Their joy knew no bound. They celebrated and celebrated, thanking the gods for finally remembering them. 9 months later, Chinyere and Dike welcomed their twin boy and girl. "Hey, the gods has blessed us double," said Dike as he carried his kids with an excitement and joy that knew no bounds. He named them Obi and Ada. Obi and Ada started growing so fast. They brought so much joy and happiness to Dike's household. However, this happiness did not last at all, as Dike passed on after 2 months of their birth. Chinyere was devastated. "Why did you leave these kids to me? Dike, who is going to raise your kids for you?" questioned a heartbroken Chinyere. She was shattered. To make matters worse, after the burial rites were adequately completed, Dike's Omona took everything, all the properties that Dike owned, saying that she killed their brother with her Obanje. They took his house, his lands, and threw Chinyere and her children into the streets. They were left very broke and with nothing. Chinyere and her kids packed into an abandoned thatched house. Life was very tough. Chinyere would do all sorts of menial jobs as to be able to provide food for Obi and Ada. She would till and work on other people's land for a token. The villagers turned blind eyes to her suffering, and no one came to her aid. They believed that she was suffering because of all the evil she had done, especially killing her husband, which was all an accusation. As early as 3 years old, Obi and Ada started going to the farm with their mother. They would help her do little chores, as much as their little hands could carry. Being kids, they were fond of running off to play after working in the farm. They would play in the streets or go as far as the next street. They loved playing hide and seek. Their favorite spot to play this hide and seek was in an ongoing construction site of a very wealthy chief in Odara village. Chief Umeji was one of the who is who's in the town of Odara. He was one of the very few people to build a mud house, and so he was held very highly. He had one wife who only gave him female children. She birthed 6 girls for Chief Umeji. He wasn't satisfied with this, as he needed a male child to take over his name and continue his lineage. So, it was his decision to marry another wife. In fact, he has started the marriage rites of one very young, beautiful girl that their family was known to birth lots of boys. Chief Omeji decided to build a bigger house that would accommodate his large family, and that was the construction site where Obi and Ada would always go to play. The workers at the site would warn them that a construction site is nowhere for kids to play in, but they would ignore them and continue playing there. One day, 7-year-old Obi and Ada decided to go to the construction site as usual to play hide and seek. Obi was hiding at the corner of the uncompleted mud house, while Ada was outside counting to 10. Suddenly, there was a heavy downpour of rain and thunderstrike. The rain came from nowhere and was so strong and heavy. Kids being kids, Obi and Ada continued their hide and seek, even enjoying the rain as it drenched their bodies. When the rain got more intense, Ada beckoned on Obi to come outside so that they would look for a shade to stay and wait for the rain to reduce a bit before they would go home. But Obi was not having it. He thought it was one of Ada's tricks to get him to come out so that she would catch him. And so he stayed back. The mud house already had a crack, and so the house already had a void, coupled with the heaviness of the rain. The house started falling. Trips and trips of mud fell on Obi, and he started screaming for help. Ada tried to get in to save her brother, but couldn't, so she rushed out to get some help. Due to the rain, seeing someone on the streets was a bit difficult for Ada. She ran to the next street. That was where she saw a shop with some men inside. She beckoned on them to help her get her brother out of a falling house. They rushed out to the site, and by the time they got there, it was too late. The house had collapsed on Obi, and in fact, buried him in there. Ada threw herself on the floor and wept bitterly. Word was sent to her mother, who rushed to the scene directly from the farm to see a collapsed house and her son said to be in it.